Welcome, friends, to a unscheduled edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. Today, we are going to be covering the sentencing of Trezell and Jacqueline West. Yes, it looks like it is about to be happening today. I have joining me live Attorney Melanie Little, who has covered this case with me throughout this whole trial. It went on for quite a while, and lots of bumps and speed bumps in the road, so to speak. But we covered it, and Melanie, I thank you for taking out your morning, and it's part of your afternoon now, to cover this with us. You're listening live to what's going on.
I am.
We can't.
Trying to. The audio is terrible in the courtroom.
Yeah. So it looks like the defense for Jackie West is talking right now, Jacqueline West. I don't even like to call her like that. That's what she refers to as Jackie. I like to refer to her as Monster West. But yeah, the thing is going to, looks like if everything goes off, it looks like the judge is ready to go forward. Any thoughts on that, Melanie?
It sounds like, yeah, I can hear Torres Stalling right now arguing for probation, saying that Jackie's eligible for probation and she should get probation. And she's been arguing that for the past couple of minutes that we've been listening, but it's really hard to hear. The court audio is really, really low.
Right. Could I hit an oh hell no for that?
Yeah.
Oh hell no.
Sorry.
That part's really loud.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right. So Melanie is listening to both me with both of us talking, and she's listening to what's going on in the courtroom. But while we're waiting for the judge to make a decision to go forward, which I feel, my spidey sense, and this is me speculating, I feel that the judge is going to go forward. That's the vibe that I got. Because
oh, sure, if they're making arguments about why there's aggravating factors and why there's mitigating factors, I think that he's definitely ready to go today.
And another question I have for you, I put you full screen because this is an important one. A lot of people want to know this. Will we hear victim impact statements today, or will that be another day as it pertains to this sentence?
It would have to be done today. I don't know if he's taking them in writing or if people are going to get up and read them. But like I said, it's so hard to hear what's going on. Let's see, what time is it in California? It's 9:26 a.m. This probably started, we got it like 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, at least 20 minutes.
Now we're hearing arguments from the attorneys with regard to why they think they should get the max, or in the defense case, get the least.
So they
haven't gotten to that yet.
Right. So we possibly could hear the victim impact statements, whether they're written or delivered directly today. And we will give you guys a play-by-play because under the court order, you're not allowed to rebroadcast or transmit even the audio. I didn't see, and that's why I have an attorney with me. I didn't see it, so she asked me to check before we were going to play it. And thank God that we checked it because you're not allowed to play it. So
no, but there will be a press conference right after this happens, so we can play that live.
So while Torres Stalling is on her diatribe and rambling on in the court, and she's doing her job, defending her client, right? So she's asking for probation. Defense attorneys will ask for the minimum sentence always for their clients. It's ultimately up to the judge to impose the sentence. Correct, Melanie?
Correct.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a listen to the when the guilty verdicts came in, because that's where we're at. We're currently happening with, we're waiting for the sentence to be imposed, and you can interrupt me at any time if the judge takes charge and starts. Okay. All right, here we go. This may be a little loud for you, Melanie.
And they're murdered. The reality here, man, is 2 little boys went missing. It didn't do enough to show that no one took them. It was wander off or dead.
There are glaring issues in this case that cannot be excused.
It's time for justice.
Where are the boys? It is a question that has haunted Kern County since December 21st, 2020, when 2 young brothers were reported missing out of California City. Thanks for joining us here on 17 News at noon. I'm Elena Rusk.
And I'm Maddie Jansen. After just 2 days of deliberation, a verdict has been reached in one of the most closely watched trials in Kern County history. Trezell and Jacqueline West have been found guilty on 1 count of second-degree murder for the death of Orrin West. But the jury was deadlocked on the 2nd count of second-degree murder related to the death of the other child, Orson. And so the judge declared a mistrial on 2 charges.
Now we have 17 News team.
Just want you guys to know we are playing this. This is obviously after they were found guilty. We're waiting the sentence, which is happening right now. It's happening inside the courtroom, but we haven't gotten to the point where the judge is ready to impose sentence. So I'm playing this for you guys so you could see where we're at up until this point. So this is obviously old news from when they were found guilty. So let's just take a listen to this, folks.
Coverage today. Our Alex Fisher taking a deep dive through this case starting from day 1. He'll have a full recap on the year-long investigation coming up. And 17's Marco Torres will have more on the boys' journey through foster care, which ultimately landed Orrin and Orson in the custody of the Wests.
But we begin our coverage with a breakdown of the verdict. Trezell and Jacqueline.
Okay, the judge is starting sentencing now.
Okay.
Judge is starting it now.
Yep. I'm here. I've got it in my ear. The judge is preparing to render the sentences.
Says Trezell has 577 credits.
That's days in prison, jail. Melanie, I'm going full with you.
In regard to count 1, second-degree murder, probation is denied. 15 years to life. Restitution in an amount to be provided by the probation department. That's for Trezell on count 1. You said there were 2 firearms seized, but you did not complete the relinquishment form. Wants them to pay some fines, $30, $40.
Count 1 was murder, second degree.
He didn't say it.
If it's 15 to life, that's what it's got to be.
Small fines, $30, $40.
This is count 2 he's talking about.
No, still count 1. Count 2. Two years on count 2. But he said that sentence is stayed.
Yeah.
So that sentence is stayed until he completes his first 15-year term? Four years concurrent on count 3? Count 6? 4 years. Fully consecutive. Of the indeterminate term of 15 years to life plus 4 years. Count 7. He's questioning, is this a misdemeanor? It's given him 364 days on count 7 concurrent. Reading him the rules on his prohibition from owning or possessing any firearms.
Popeye's not happy about this.
Is to surrender his firearms to local law enforcement.
I have the counts up.
That's great. Excellent. So that was count 7. So we're done with him. Moving on to Jacqueline.
So it looked like he got 15, 4, and 4, right? Or was it 1, 4?
15.
Where's the sentencing for? Okay. Here comes Jacqueline now. She better not get fucking probation.
Jacqueline West is not the victim.
Thank you, Judge. That was big right there.
Anybody who knows me knows that I do not do what probation recommends.
This is the judge through Melanie.
This is not one of those cases where I'm going to give probation, he says.
Yes. I love this judge.
I'm going to sentence Jacqueline West to what I consider to be the appropriate under the law. Jacqueline West, are you ready to be sentenced? Your credits are 577 actual. She gets that her credit for time served. 577 days credit. Count 1. Probation's denied. 15 years to life.
Nice.
He's reading to her the requirement that she's prohibited from owning, possessing, or having under her custody or control any firearms, ammunition, or ammunition feeding devices, including but not limited to magazines.
Same thing he did with the.
But he says she did not have any firearms anyway.
Yeah, this is routine. He's got to lay this out because now they're convicted and sentenced felons. They can't possess any firearms under California code. Surrendering your firearms. I'm listening to. Yeah, Ed Wallace is in the chat, and he says, now tell us where the boys are.
Exactly.
These pieces of shit won't do that. Excuse my language.
$40 fee. Wow.
He didn't even get to count 2 yet. She better get the same thing. 4.
Mm-hmm.
So 15 to life doesn't mean that in 15 years they'll get out. They're just eligible for parole after 15 years, but can serve life, right? How does that work, Mel?
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to listen to the judge.
He's going over the fines. For,
Yeah.
we'll get to this after we're done. Ed, if you're available, come on up. Ed, we'd
Count
love to have-
2. Probation's denied. Midterm of 3 years. That is stayed until the successful completion of the initial term of 15 years to life. Count 3. Probation denied. 4 years concurrent. Count 6. Probation denied. 4 years consecutive. So the total term is 15 years to life, indeterminate, plus 4 years. Count 7. $364 concurrent with the sentence imposed.
364 days.
Because it has to be under a year. He's going to read the rights to appeal. $60 days to file a notice of appeal.
So 15, 4, and 4, correct? For both.
But one was concurrent and one was consecutive. So it's 15 plus 4.
19.
He's just reading pro forma instructions regarding appeals. So I think as soon as they leave, maybe they'll have the press conference.
I'm hoping if anybody is on that and everybody can see where the press conference is, let me know. I'll check all the local news.
I have it up. Oh, I did.
If you have it up, then share it if it's going. So Trezell is 35 years old now. Jacqueline is 32. So with these, if they serve the minimum time, which would be 19 years, and I don't see them serving minimum times. I see them coming up eligible for parole and parole being denied. I hope,
Yeah.
you know, I can't see a parole board saying, hey, you've been, model prisoners. We're going to re-release you, even though you stand accused of killing your two adoptive children.
Right.
So again, I don't think this is like, I see some people in the chat saying, "Oh, this is horrible. This is terrible." It's an injustice. I think that the judge sentenced them to the maximum under the California code.
I'm just going to listen in on this. They're talking about the remaining counts the jury did not make a decision on.
The district attorney Smith is
With your regard to Orson?
guys, make sure you share this out so it gets out there. Put it out onto Twitter, your social media platforms.
Missed that. Counts 4 and 5 as to each defendant with regard to Orson have been dismissed. And that's it.
Count 4 and 5 dismissed.
Yeah, they're not going to retry them.
The ones with the mistrial.
The ones with regard to Orson.
All right, let's recap. It looks like court is done. They're not going to be any victim impact statements. I would have thought that they would have.
He may have read them. You know, he may have taken them under advisement. I don't know. Since we're not in the courtroom, I don't know if maybe they read those before and they didn't live stream them.
All right, so I'm going to go and look if you can search for the live feed. I want to let the rest of this play because I think there's a little bit more information. I'm going to put it right to here. So these counts right here, count 4, conspiracy to commit murder, count 5, a second-degree murder, which obviously we didn't hear them talk about until the end. Those were dismissed. No retrial. Disappointed in that because I wanted to see justice for both of our boys. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, these two evil monsters are going to spend a great deal, if not all, of the remainder of their life. Because 15 to life doesn't mean that they're getting out after that 15 years, as I stated earlier. And Melanie, you've seen this many a time where people come up and are eligible for parole and they go before the parole board 15 times.
Right.
You know? So I don't think anybody with a good sound mind, people on the parole board listening to the case details, they don't just go in there and say, "Oh, let me pat you on the back. You've been a good model prisoner, Trezell and Jacqueline. We're going to let you go." They look at the totality of the case. They look at that there are 2 adoptive children who are not even, I mean, I don't know. Maybe one day we will recover their remains. Maybe
I hope so.
Maybe we'll never recover their remains. So when we're at that time, that a parole board looks at this, they'll look at the totality of everything and then say, is it a good idea to put these people out, put them back out into society? And I would say anybody with a sound mind would say no to that, because people who take lives of children are monsters. These are monsters.
An indeterminate sentence. I see people asking in the chat. An indeterminate sentence in California is a range of years, the low end of which is the date they would first be eligible to go to a parole board. So they would not be even eligible to sit in front of a parole board until 15 years.
Yeah.
Well, 19 years, because they have 15 plus 4, and that second charge was consecutive. So count 1 was 15 to life. Count 6 was 4 years to be served consecutively, which means after the 15. So it'd be 19 years, according to my math. Yeah.
Yes.
Because there was a 4-year on count 3 that was to run concurrent with the 15 to life.
I'm just searching for the live feed of KGE TV. I'm going to take myself off.
I have it on another channel where they scheduled it for 41 minutes from now, so I'm not sure.
Right. Shar says prison will not be kind to them. I hope and pray they won't be, because we know for a fact from hearing from our folks from the correction executives, Anthony from Tier Talk, inmates, prisoners, convicts, whatever you want to call them, they do not like baby murderers. They do not like baby murderers. And that's what Trezell and Jacqueline are. They're convicted baby killers. I hope they don't have one good day behind bars. So we're going to continue, obviously, this live stream. We're going to look for any coverage that's coming out. I'm checking Twitter. If you have anything, send it to me over on DutyRon.com. I want to play a little bit of a video of Roro, the biological, from the biological side. She made a statement after the verdicts were came out in front of the courthouse, and I know we're going to hear from her today. I know it, but I want to play this because this was right after the guilty verdicts. So let's take a listen, because fast forward to today, it is relevant.
Many of them sitting through the entire trial, hoping for the verdict read today. But this verdict has been a long time coming for family members and people in the community who have been following this case since the beginning. Many of them sitting through the entire trial, hoping for the verdict read today. But they say the work does not stop here.
Today was a day that we all been waiting for, and to get 5 guilty counts says a lot.
While Trezell and Jacqueline West were not found guilty on every count, community supporters say the counts they do face are enough.
It's been far too long for the biological family to not know what happened, what didn't happen, and where the babies are. And I think today was a perfect day for them to find these people guilty.
Laura Vasquez and Selena Quar have followed this trial as they are adoptive parents themselves.
Devastating. It was nerve-wracking. It was almost like anxiety, waiting to hear the evidence they had against these people.
They say sitting through the testimony of the West children really tugged at their heartstrings.
Children, when it came to them testifying, it was so sad, but at the same time, we were able to see their weight difference from them being with their biological parents to them being in protective custody and in foster care, however their situation is working.
Supporter Jennifer Nobles agrees and says now those children will likely remember this forever.
I feel sad still, you know.
I want to just say this. Jennifer Nobles and Keish all day and many others have been supporters of these boys. I've been out to everyone.
Oh, they're coming on. They're coming on with the press conference right now. Can you get KUTV on your YouTube?
Hold on, KGE TV?
No, KUTV. Oh, wait.
Can you share it? Can you share it?
No, this is Salt Lake City. Sorry. This is a different case. Never mind.
Okay. All right. No problem. All right. So let me put this back and continue what I'm saying. Thank you for keep looking. What I'm saying is Jennifer Nobles and the people, boots on the ground, the biological family, they've been there for every one of these. And I talked with Jennifer Nobles this morning. She had eye surgery yesterday and her eye is like swollen up. So we're sending prayers to Jennifer for a full recovery. She was so upset that she couldn't be in the courtroom today. So Jennifer is here outside. This is from a previous sentencing that was postponed. So let's just let this play, and then I'll keep searching. I asked a couple of my good internet detectives to scan the internet and to give me, just give me a heads up if anything's coming across the wire. Kim Alliston, great to see you. Thank you for all these kind messages. Stella Bella 310 says, I'm crying my eyes out right now. We got justice today. Justice not only for the, again, don't get caught up on that it was just one of the two boys. These are brothers together, right? So this justice, and this is how I look at it, and this is, I think, how we all should maybe have an open mind and look at this. By them being put behind bars, of course, we would have liked to have seen 2 sets of 15 to life and the same sets of charges for sincere and classic, but we didn't get it that way. But ultimately, these sick, evil monsters, these animals, these baby killers are behind bars. They're not out. They didn't get probation like they asked for Jacqueline West.
Right.
Her attorney fought hard and talked for a long time prior to the judge imposing the sentence. But ultimately, take charge was heard today in the courtroom at the end of that sentencing. The court officers took charge, and now they will go to the California Department of Corrections state correctional facility, where they'll be housed inside a cage for the remainder of their sentence. However long that will be, we do not know. We don't have a crystal ball, but they are going to at least spend 20 years behind bars in the minimum sentence, and perhaps more if they have trouble inside. If Trezell gets into a fight, if Jacqueline gets into a fight, or any type of issues happen, it's not good time, and they won't be eligible to even go before the pro board. So let's hope for not one good day for these scumbags. So let's let the rest of this play, because this is Jennifer Nobles. I'll put it back, because love to hear from the families and the supporters. And if it wasn't for Jennifer, I wouldn't have gotten together and started the billboards. And we spent $15,000 of your donated money to plaster a billboard by Lamar Advertising on Highway 99 in Bakersfield. And people were seeing those boys' faces for 15 months every day driving by in the most high traffic area. It was the best thing that I've done since I've been on YouTube. It made me feel so good that we as a community funded the billboards, and those beautiful boys' face were plastered every day, 24/7 on a huge billboard. So I'm proud of you guys, and I thank you.
However their situation is working. Supporter Jennifer Nobles agrees and says now those children will likely remember this forever.
I feel sad still, because there's other innocent children out in that they've left, from doing something so horrible like this.
And biological family member Rosanna Wills says she feels for the children, but says she's glad the West parents will have to pay for what they did.
It's sad because they put their own kids in this position to where they were trying.
Look at Keish. She's crying, friends. She prays every day with her own children. She prays every day for the boys. She's standing there outside the courthouse crying. I mean, I just love, I want to just take a flight there just to meet them and hug them all, because they're also, passionate and invested in this thing and emotional. My heart breaks with them right now.
Trying to hide this from the beginning so they wouldn't be in this position.
As for Orrin and Orson, also known as Classic and Sincere Pettis,
Somebody knows where these babies' bodies is.
Yes.
Somebody knows.
Will's adding the search will continue.
Keep their faces out there, Classic and Sincere. We love you, and we will not stop till we bring you home, baby.
So that was some of the coverage. I'm not sure if they'll start out in general population or if they'll be put into protective custody. And here's the thing. The determination gets made by the evaluation period. So for a period of 2 or so weeks, they'll stay in a county jail, and then they'll try to see where they're best suited. Trezell may not be at the same facility where Jacqueline is, and the questions that are coming in are very good. They won't be able to see each other if they're at the same facility. That doesn't happen. But what they'll do is they'll evaluate where they're best housed, where their best permanent housing will be. And then they'll get to that location and they'll do gang intel and they'll do all kinds of intel to see if there's any type of threat against them. And if they see that, and we don't like to hear this, but this is how it goes, the Department of Corrections, their care and custody is to make sure that the person that they're having in their facility is safe and secure. As we know, that doesn't always work out. It doesn't always work out, right, Melanie? And I don't think I would lose a day's sleep. And I'm not saying, I don't want to go there, but I'm just saying I'm not really concerned about their care and custody. But it's their job to make sure that they're in a safe environment. But as we know, and we'll go to Jumpsuit Pablo, and I'll have him on, and we'll talk about when they're finally housed in their cages. We'll have Jumpsuit Pablo, who spent 10 years behind the wall in South Carolina, in some of the worst jails and prisons in South Carolina, and we'll have him give his take on what they could be getting a taste of. And I hope it's not. I hope it's a bowl of a lot of wrong.
Yeah.
Melanie, I want to go to your thoughts. You're a mother of 5. You're an attorney. You're a good human being. You are a great YouTube content creator. What's your thoughts here today? How does this ring with you?
You know, on the one, I mean, it's such a sad case all around, and everyone has such strong feelings about it. And I know your viewers have been following this for years and donating money to try and find the boys. But, at the end of the day, we have to realize that, and these are just the facts, this was a no body murder case. So because of that, this really, really is a good sentence. And so we have to kind of look at it that way, because the judge could have sentenced Jacqueline to probation under the guidelines, and he chose not to do that. He chose to give her the max for the charges that she was convicted of. And that's really, really important. So as sad as this day is, and as much as everybody really wants them to be in prison or forever, they did receive the max under the guidelines. And I think that that is a victory. This sentence was put over so many times that we were starting to wonder, what's the new information? Why do they keep adjourning this sentencing? What are they coming up with? And it was my hope always that one of them would tell us where the boys are, in hopes that they would maybe get some sort of a reduced sentence, but that didn't happen. So, I think we still have a lot of questions. I think this is still unresolved for all of us, because we just want the boys to be able to come home and have a proper burial. And we're not going to get that closure today. But I think there is some closure for the family, in that the judge was not going to hear any argument for any probation for Jacqueline.
Yeah. And that was what worried me, is as you and I were listening, and we were like true news anchors today. I had an earbud here. We were connected in, you were listening to two different things. When we heard Tora Stallings argue, and she went on this long diatribe for like 15 minutes of how Jacqueline is a victim in all of this. And then the judge turned around and kind of put that right back in her face and said, Jacqueline West is not a victim.
Nope.
Just hearing that in my ear, and I tried to hold it back, just made me smile, because it tells me that the judge wasn't buying that bag of shit. The judge was not going along with that storyline. And to her defense, Stallings was doing her job, Melanie.
Yep. She was.
Sometimes defense attorneys could be some of the people that we really despise and do not like, but they have a very difficult job, and it's part of our criminal justice system. They have to defend everybody. And until you're in a position where you stand accused of something, then all of a sudden we would change and say, you know what, I need, come help me. Right. So, everybody is afforded the innocent until proven guilty, right? What we saw today was the sentencing of Trezell and Jacqueline West. They were proven guilty in a court of law under what I feel was a very fair and impartial system in Bakersfield. The judge was really
he was firm about that. You are not a victim, Jacqueline. He was firm about that. And it's too bad that we couldn't play it live, because I think that would help everybody in kind of understanding the judge's mindset, because he was not having any of it.
No,
he was not in any way, shape, or form showing any leniency for these two.
Yeah,
and you could hear that in his tone, right?
Yeah, 100%. Hands down, one of the best that I've heard. And I look back to the Murdaugh trial. He was great. The judge who was presided over his trial was fantastic. He really gave it to him. I'm here on Bakersfield now, and I'm just looking at the live news. So this is local. This is 23 Bakersfield, 23 ABC. If anybody in the chat finds either a Facebook feed, if Roe goes live, I'm monitoring. I don't see anything as of yet. Let us know, but I'll keep that playing in the background. Melanie, we're back on. So where are the boys? I'm in that chat. Where are the boys? And I don't see anybody live from there. I'm looking at
I have a notification set for the one thing that I saw that is going to stream it live, but they are set for, let's see,
40 something minutes.
Right.
You know, I have a ton of media that I could play from the old, but let's go to the chat. Let's take up some time to chat with our live chatters. So put in hashtag Melanie. Melanie Little has her own YouTube channel. It's Attorney Melanie Little. I'll have it linked here in the description. She's working the chat.
I've got this question from Teresa. Does that mean sentencing? Does that sentencing mean they will have to do 15 years before they come up for parole? Actually, they'll have to do 19 years because they were sentenced to 15 with another sentence of 4 years on another count that are going to be served consecutively. So it is 19 years, is my understanding, before they can come up for parole.
Why was I thinking it was another 3 years for Jackie on top of the extra 4?
There was another 3, but that was to be served concurrently.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because both of those charges were regarding one of the boys, and I think that's why.
Right. Truth to Light, thank you for this comment. She says, she or he says 15 to life plus then 4. Then parole is an option. Parole, again, is not a guarantee. I worked alongside the New York State Parole for, I worked with New York State parole officers for 4 years in my NYPD career. I was in a joint task force with the New York State Parole Department. Now, every state has different guidelines for their parole, but they pretty much mirror each other. And parole is not a guarantee. And when you sign your parole, when you do get released to parole, you sign away all of your rights to privacy in your home, because a parole officer can come to your home and search it and turn the room upside down without a warrant because you signed that paper. I've seen the documents, Melanie. It's like 40 pages of documents that they sign away all of their constitutional rights. They have to be inside their house at a certain time. They cannot consume alcohol or drugs. They cannot engage in any type of behavior or activity that is criminal, obviously, and they have to be employed. Even if they have to go out and get a job at McDonald's flipping burgers, they got to go and get a job. And if they don't, parole is revoked. And you go back for all of that time. If you get out with 5 years, you owe 5 years to the state or whatever the remainder of your sentencing is, you go back for a minor violation, just as minor as consuming alcohol. And parole officers come to your home in the middle of the night and turn your room upside down where you reside and search for any type of contraband or any type of drugs or alcohol. And if they observe it, there's not the same type of rights where a police officer has to go in and go to a judge and get a warrant. It's a warrantless entry. They're able to go in there. They can't search the whole home, but they can search the actual room where the parolee is residing. I've done it. I've done it many a times with New York State Parole. So parole is not, an easy thing to be on, and you could be violated like that. Anything else? I see some hashtag Melanie.
Yeah. Questions. Was it dismissed on Orson without prejudice so they can be retried on those counts? No, they cannot be retried on those counts. That would be double jeopardy. So the jury could not reach a decision on those 2 counts with regard to Orson.
Yes. And
the judge dismissed them. They cannot be retried on those 2 counts.
There's our friend Jeff Litweiler and his beautiful wife Eileen. He says hashtag DutyRon and Supergirl Melanie. What will happen when the boys are found? The family's going to obviously, be able to lay them to rest. I don't think it will change anything as it pertains to this case because they're convicted and they're sentenced. You cannot now go back and, Melanie, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. We're seeing this on Morphew right now because the husband was indicted, right? And they were going to take him to trial and they decided not to because they didn't have a body in her case. And so that case was dismissed without prejudice so that they could bring a case against him. Like it's kind of like the exact same thing that we're talking about. And now that they have found her remains, he can be tried if they choose to. If the evidence points in that direction, he can be tried.
Right.
So nothing would change in this case.
All right,
except for closure.
I'm getting some stuff in here. Live updates, sentencing of Trezell and Jacqueline West. This is KGET. So let me go to them quickly. I'll put you full screen. Melanie, could you just scan the chat and take over?
Sure.
Thank you.
Let's see what we have here. You guys have any questions? Yeah, Linda, I agree with you. I'm sure law enforcement did their best trying to get them to tell where these boys are. Yeah. Who knows what they kept promising them. Just, cooperate with us, let us know where they are. We'll try and help you with a reduced sentence. We'll talk to the judge and try and get you less than the max or something. It's sad, Sally. And since it's a high profile case, who knows, they could decide to put them in protective custody or they can put them in Gen Pop. Correct. You are correct about that. And look to the bottom. Blissful and Essence, sadly, I don't think they will be found unless one of them talks. Yeah, but that's what we were hoping for. That's why we thought this sentencing kept getting postponed and postponed and postponed. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what we got here.
The court to postpone 5 o'clock with an unexpected development today in the highly anticipated sentencing hearing for Trezell and Jacqueline West, the adoptive parents of 2 little Bakersfield boys who disappeared some 3 years ago. The defense today asking the court to postpone sentencing for the couple.
Is this today?
I don't think
And
so.
the
It says
judge
501.
honored that request.
Yeah.
17's.
All right, somebody just shared this with me. Sorry, Melanie, for interrupting.
That's okay.
I will put you back and continue to search.
Okay. Lots of people in the chat. Where are the likes? Show some DNA on that like button, guys. Show some DNA. We have over 1,700 people in here, at least on YouTube right now. Why I have concurrent sentences? Because the first 3 counts that they were sentenced on were with regard to one of the children. The second counts were with regard to the second child. So the counts with regard to child 1, and I can't remember now because the graphic, I think it was Oren, was 15 to life, and plus 4 years for the second child. So they will run consecutively. That's why it's 19 years.
Was in court this morning and joins us now.
Sorry, Melanie. That's me behind the scenes.
With regard to one of the boys.
Let me just hear this for a second.
Riot outside of the courthouse today, but earlier this morning, it was a different story because when those who are close to the case found out that the sentencing for Trezell and Jacqueline West would be postponed, they had immediate reactions.
This is from this morning.
They sit up in here and act like they just the parent of the year. No, they murderers. They murderers. They animals. Trezell and Jacqueline, y'all animals. Okay? Tell us where the babies are. No deal, nothing.
Emotions ran high after it was decided in court Wednesday that sentencing for Trezell.
Okay, so that was old. But
That was old. That was from the last time that it was adjourned.
They have a live update scheduled for 15 minutes from now. So I'm going to just keep this in the hopper. And then.
Okay, so you have it on.
Right, so they have it on.
Will we hear audio from the sentencing later or just written words? I don't think we're going to hear the audio. There was a prohibition by the court for anybody who was listening to it live from restreaming it or recording it or in any way playing it. So I do not think, I think it's just going to be reported by the reporters the same way that we're reporting it to you. I don't think we're going to hear the actual audio from the court. I may be wrong if he changes his order, but as of right now, that order was still in place the last time I checked.
Let me say this, maybe there's a possibility there was a pool reporter, as you saw in Herman yesterday. Was that yesterday? Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
So maybe they allowed a pool reporter to record and play because they wouldn't be playing it live, in other words. So there may be a possibility that we'll see something like this. One camera pooled into the courtroom and focused in on the judge doing the sentencing. We may see that. Melanie and I heard it live, and if you go back on this replay, she gave a very accurate play-by-play, and I tried to, with my keyboard is wireless, so sometimes it misses keys, so I'm continually spelling stuff wrong, but I tried to type out some of the things that Melanie. So as a team together, I think we did pretty decent. You gave the verbal play-by-play. But this is what you may see later on, a view like this of a recorded, recorded from today's events.
Right.
So Tony is chiming in with some foreign currency. Where is that from? SEK.
I think he's from Sweden.
Sweden. Yeah. Maybe just from the
oh yeah, he has shout out from Sweden. Yep.
Yeah, the best combo. There you go. You got it. Talented and very knowledgeable. Shout out from Sweden. Yeah, if I would have read that.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I would have loved to have heard from Ed Wallace on his thoughts, because he covered this too with me on and off. I know that it's middle of the day and he's got his honeydew checklist, so he might be running around like a chicken with his head cut off. So Ed's probably out in the mobile, and that's what I would think. So people are laughing and chatting it up with Ed. I'm trying to scroll back to see.
Here's a good question for you, Ron.
Jackie wants to go to Oregon to be close to family. Is there a chance they'll do that? Do they do prisoner transfers to other states so that convicts will be more comfortable?
Oh, hell no.
That's my answer. That will not happen. That is a big negative. Edward. Oh, wait. I want to.
Oh, sorry. I was hiding what I had.
No. Don't worry. This is the tech police.
Team effort.
Put your hands up and stay away from the control panel. Ed knows me.
Then we have nobody in charge, and then it's a problem.
Ed is holding us hostage right now.
Where is he? Tell him to get in. If he's in his car waiting outside of Costco, just get in here.
He's trying to break up a fight outside of Costco. Yeah. So again, this is what we could potentially see later on, a pool camera. I'm hoping for that, because this judge, man, I wish I have his name in my file. Do you have his name written down? The judge, Mel?
It's in my extensive file here.
I think I have it.
Ed wishes there was a death penalty for these two.
But anyways, he did a fantastic job, and prosecutor
does deserve credit.
Yeah, he's
even on the feed. It didn't say his name; it just said the part that it was in.
Shame on us for not having it right up front, but that's what happens when you have live a quick.
And
live.
you cover so many cases too. I'll find it. You go to the chat. I'll find it.
All right, so. I want to say thank you to the super chatters. So let's go in there and look at these super chats as they came in. Melanie, I'll go solo while you're searching.
Sure.
Dawn, thank you for being a member. She says, I love this channel. We love you. Thank you. Andrea, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, thank you to both of you from Germany. Oh, yes. Thank you. I love our international audience. Van Life Voyages sends in a $5 super chat, and he or she says, from Bakersfield, California. That's ground zero from where this crime occurred. Thanks so much for covering this case as you have from the start. Yeah, many creators have been covering this case, but we stuck with it even when the news on this was unpopular and was not being reported. This was a case that was near and dear to all of our hearts. These two little innocent babies, these angels, should have never met their demise. They should have been in homes where they were getting loving care, and they did not get that with Trezell and Jacqueline West. They were in this for babies for money, and that's a whole nother live stream. That's a whole nother conversation. So thank you, Retta Winery. Thank you, Winery. Thank you for the super sticker. We appreciate that. Black Pill Jackson. She says, "Is Melanie a natural blonde?" Yeah, of course she is. Yeah, she is. Thank you for the super chat. MMM Rhino Girl, thank you for the United Emirates AED 25. At last, these monsters are not running around adopting more victims. Yeah, babies for money, as we said. Thank you. Thank you, Tony, for the super love. Appreciate that. Southwest 4x4 Explorers member for 7 months. She says, love DutyRon and Ed and Melanie. Listen, everybody that comes on here as guests and co-hosts, and Melanie has been co-hosting with me on and off for almost a good part of this year. So Melanie's been hitting the ground running and doing the right thing. And what's great about people like Melanie is she donates her time, and this stuff takes time. You saw she got in her car and drove out to Riverhead 2 times at least now, right? She's got a family, we all have things going on. She's, doing all these different things, and she takes the time out. And that's what I love about people who have hearts like Melanie. And she's not doing it for the money. She's doing it because this is what she loves to do. And she's being an advocate for missing and folks who are victims of crime. And you can't put a price tag on that. So thank you, Mel.
Thank you. You're very welcome. It's Judge Bremer, Brehmer.
Bremer. There it is.
It says here that if the gag order is lifted, the DA was scheduled to do a press conference at 10 a.m. California time, but I just don't see it yet, you guys.
Yeah, we could be missing it. But if we did miss it, we could just play it back. So
right.
Let me continue to, this is going to be a little noisy.
And Jacqueline West would be post.
Let me just refresh this live.
Oh, we're on.
I'm going to refresh. You know, it's funny. I'm not quite sure how these LA markets work. Like, it's like I know here, you know, the majors would be on it 2, 4, 5, 7, 9.
Right.
But there's nothing. I don't even see. I did a Google search for it.
It's like Bakersfield Now, KGET.
Yeah. So Ed sent me a text saying check channel 17. Let me check it right now. Someone said it's on their Facebook.
On KGET?
Yeah, that's what I was just on KGTV, so, which is a 17. That's what Ed's saying.
Right.
Let's give it a try. And I'm looking at Facebook too.
And also Twitter. Like nobody's on this today. I can't believe it.
Top story 13 seconds ago. All right, let's check this out.
Oh, I see it. It's live now. Go to KGET Facebook page.
Today in the highly anticipated.
Okay, let me go to the Facebook. KGE Facebook.
KGET TV 17 Bakersfield Facebook, and I see that the DA
Anticipated sentencing hearing for Trezell.
Cynthia Zimmer is about not too far into this, and only 56 people are watching. But we can rewind it.
Yeah, I'll rewind it. Come on, really? All right, I'm putting you full screen.
Okay.
Facebook.
You don't have Facebook? I'm going to get it on my end.
I got it.
So it is Cynthia Zimmer, who you may recall. She is the Kern County DA, and she seems to be speaking right now. She's only a couple minutes in. And shockingly to me, there's only 57 people watching this on Facebook, which...
Okay, here we go.
Was killed in Bakersfield. The case then primarily went to the jurisdiction of the Bakersfield Police Department. Chief Terry and his staff and all the investigators in the case, they were wonderful.
Going back.
Okay, good.
I wanted to make sure that I followed the rules to be ethical and also to ensure that the Wests would have a fair trial. And that is exactly what happened. They had a fair trial and there was a fair verdict. Shortly after the indictment was read, and even before the defense had access to any transcript or knew even a shred of evidence, the accusations started coming. The first was that this prosecution was politically motivated. And I can tell you that is the furthest from the truth. This case was prosecuted because the evidence was overwhelming that Trezell and Jacqueline West murdered those two boys. As the case progressed during the months that came, the defendants quickly and repeatedly sought to attack law enforcement in a failed effort to cast doubt in what was one of this county's most exhaustive, thorough investigations. And I'm very proud of the work that law enforcement has done in this case. Having finally reached the conclusion of the trial process, I can assure you that while the world was wondering What happened to these children? Your Kern County law enforcement officers and the prosecutors involved in this case were working tirelessly to seek evidence in order to hold the defendants accountable. I'm very pleased with the verdict in this case. I am so grateful for the jurors who chose to serve and who were patient and diligent with the evidence. Today, the judge sentenced both Jacqueline and Trezell West for 15 years to life on the second-degree murder of Sincere, and also a felony child abuse for Classic, which was 4 years consecutive, for a total of 19 years to life. As you are aware, the jury was unable to reach a verdict on
I hope they
2
ask her about
counts,
the total
and
time
those
they'll
dealt
serve.
with the murder of Classic. Mr. Smith and I made the very difficult decision of choosing not to retry the case based on those 2 counts. There was a lot that went into that, a lot of time and effort, but ultimately we decided not to go forward and retry the defendants on those counts because of the major factor was the difficulty that would have put the witness through. As you know, the majority, not the majority, but some of the most impactful testimony was from children, was from the children in the home. And it was very difficult on them. And in essence, they had to testify against their parents. We didn't want to put them through that again. The children were murdered in September of 2020, but reported missing 3 months later on December 21st of 2020. And that made the investigation very difficult. In essence, the killers got a 3-month head start on law enforcement. But about 1 week, the children were taken into protective custody on the 21st, and about a week later, it was, we discovered in law enforcement what had happened. We received the evidence at that time, what had happened, and that the children, that in essence, Sincere was killed in Bakersfield, never made his way to Cal City, and that Classic may have been there for a couple of days, then disappeared. So we knew that. That's not something I told you early on. But you may ask, why did you not begin the indictment process for nearly a year? I can tell you because we worked and law enforcement worked. And they worked hard. They interviewed numerous witnesses. They conducted numerous searches. 47 search warrants were conducted in this case during that period of time, looking for all evidence in this case, but looking to see if there was any evidence at all that would have shown that those children were alive after September of 2020.
What passion she's showing here, right, Mel?
Yeah.
You don't often see this from a DA.
No.
Photograph, video from the business, anything. And there was nothing. And during the trial, the defense was able to produce nothing to show that those children were alive after September of 2020. I want to thank law enforcement for their work in this case. They did an amazing job. They were persistent. They were diligent. Specifically, I want to thank the California City Police Department that
John
started
Walker,
this. They got the
Chief.
call that 2 children were missing. And what did they do? They assumed they were alive. And they did everything they could do to try to find them. But soon it became clear that the killers were not telling the truth about what happened. When we discovered 1 week into the investigation that Sincere was killed in Bakersfield, the case then primarily went to the jurisdiction of the Bakersfield Police Department. Chief Terry and his staff and all the investigators in the case, they were wonderful. They fully accepted, of course, the responsibility because it was he was killed in their jurisdiction, and they took over the investigation. and they worked so hard. And I went to meetings there where there were just rooms full of a room full of detectives working on every aspect of this case. And I was very proud to be a part of that. I'd like to also thank the Kern County Sheriff's Department. They helped in a number of ways, as did the California Highway Patrol and the FBI. When you have two little children that are missing, 4 years old and 3 years old, it just breaks your heart. And then to find out that they were killed by the people that the state entrusted to take care of them is just heartbreaking. This was a case that was so hard because it was so sad. I mean, all homicides are sad, but goodness gracious, these the 4-year-old, they were babies. They were babies. And I am so proud that the community embraced these children and cared about this case and followed this case. I also want to thank all the volunteers in Kern County and other places that came out to search for those children out in the desert, hoping that they were alive. And I want to thank everyone that watched this case, even though you may not have been involved, that you had hoped and rooted that there would be a just ending to this. It's not the ending that we hoped. I mean, it would have been wonderful that these children were alive, but they are not. But at least we were able to achieve justice for these children. Now, the bodies of Sincere and Classic have not been found, but we will never give up hope that the bodies of these precious children will be found and can be brought home. So at this time, I'd like to turn the mic over to Eric Smith. Eric Smith was a trial attorney on this case. He's the chief trial deputy in this office. He and I have been together and on this case since the beginning, and he took over as trial attorney pretty early on during the investigation, knowing at some point we were going to file charges. So Eric, would you like to say something? A few words.
All right, good morning. It's been one of the honors of my career to be able to prosecute this case. I've never met, obviously, Sincere and Classic, but I went in every day to fight for their justice because they deserved it. They were provided to Jacqueline and Trezell by the state, and ultimately they were not treated appropriately and they were killed by them. This has been a long road. It's been a long road that involved a lot of people working extremely hard. And some of the, I guess, unsung heroes I like to bring to the forefront, the jurors. The jurors, they go and they're called to jury duty. They don't know what they're there for. And ultimately they get picked for a panel, and in front of them is a case that has over 70 witnesses, has over 100 pieces of evidence. And they deliberated thoughtfully. They deliberated about this case, and ultimately they rendered justice for Sincere and Classic. I'd also like to thank the other family members in the West family. Wanda West, Philip West, Josiah West. A lot of times in these cases, family members are collateral damage. Ultimately, when law enforcement goes out, they talk with family members of suspects. And in this case, those individuals, Wanda, Philip, and Josiah, were truthful. They provided the truth in this case. That's something that's extremely hard to do when it's your son that's looking at a prison term or being accused of murder. They provided that to law enforcement in the beginning, and they did that throughout. They testified to it. Something extremely difficult to do, but they did it. And also, of course, I'd like to thank law enforcement. I worked very closely with Detective Thomas Hernandez, with Chief Hightower and his officers. I just thank them for all their efforts in this case, for ultimately the justice that was served in this case for Sincere and Classic. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Assistant Chief of Police from the Bakersfield Police Department, Brent Stratton, and also the lead detective in this case, Tommy Hernandez.
Good morning. The Bakersfield Police Department is dedicated to pursuing justice on behalf of our victims, their families, and our community. That's evidenced by the tremendous amount of work and time and effort that went into the investigation of this case. We'd like to recognize and thank DA Zimmer for her leadership and her partnership with the Kern County District Attorney's Office. We'd also like to recognize Mr. Smith and the amount of work and effort that went into prosecuting this case. We'd also like to thank and recognize Chief Hightower and the California City Police Department, as well as the Kern County Sheriff's Office and the FBI for the tremendous amount of assistance and work that went into this. But I'd also specifically like to recognize the investigators led by Detective Hernandez, but numerous other employees at the police department. DA Zimmer spoke about the sheer volume of people that put time and effort and their hearts into this investigation. It was a tremendous honor, and I'm proud to work with detectives and investigators like them for the work that they put into it in seeking justice. I would like to say that the Bakersfield Police Department, however, will not rest until these boys are brought home and they're able to be laid to rest with the respect and the dignity that they deserve. Thank you for your time.
And standing with Assistant Chief Stratton is Detective Tommy Hernandez, who is a man of few words, but I can tell you who is a very hard worker and has worked since December of 2020 on this case. And finally, I'd like to introduce to you California City Chief of Police Jesse Hightower.
Good morning. Thank you. Leave it to Cal City.
And Channel 17.
So I'd like to start off by thanking the DA's office, one, for having the courage to take this case, and then secondly, having the faith in the job that my organization, Bakersfield PD's organization, the amount of work that was able to get done. I'm forever grateful to Mr. Smith, to Ms. Zimmer. I'd like to thank the members of my community for coming out countless of hours, doing hundreds of searches through hundreds of miles. Sometimes that terrain was pretty tough. And mostly I'd like to thank the members of my organization for they never quit. They always put forth 100%. So again, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. It's a very sad case, but I am so proud of the work law enforcement did in bringing justice to these kids. It was quite a road, and I think we're all relieved that it's over. But now, do any of you have any questions?
Yes. One of the accusations you were talking about earlier was your office searching on the client's rights by applying for a gag order immediately after the press conference in March. Now, what is your reaction to this?
Okay, that's a lot of
Melanie, did you hear that?
I couldn't get it. I tried to turn it up even.
Thought it was appropriate.
Talking about a gag order.
Yeah, I'm going to let Mr. Smith talk about how there was no infringement on anyone's rights and how gag orders are constitutional.
She asked about the gag orders.
Right. In the types of cases that involve media, where media is interested in it, and the media was interested in this case, a lot of times we will get gag orders. In this case, following the defense attorneys having a press conference, at that point, we believed we needed to ask for a gag order. And the purpose of a gag order is merely that the parties don't speak about the case with the media, and that allows for the jury, as when they come, to be unbiased and not have knowledge of the case.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Jesus.
What exactly happened the night Sincere's death, and then the following week, just how it took place. Sincere, and then last year. I know a lot of it's still unknown, but I didn't know if there's kind of a narrative.
Are you asking what really what we really think happened? Yes. Oh, outside of what happened in court?
Yes. What happened to Sincere and Classic on the nights of their deaths? It's a great question.
Well, I think, obviously Sincere was killed first in Bakersfield. And then I think Classic survived for a period of time until he went to Cal City, maybe just for a few days.
Oh, shit.
I'll let Mr. Smith talk about that and what he's comfortable. We don't want to, speculate too much because some of this is just our gut feeling. But I think that after, and this is maybe Mr. Smith's opinion, but my opinion is after Sincere was killed, that Classic was lost. They were 4 and 3 years old, and they were together since birth, different foster homes, different places. And without Sincere, Classic was probably crying a lot, devastated, probably looking for him, and they had to come up with something to take care of that. I don't know. But I just feel that I think about Classic and what it was probably his only real security was Sincere, being that they were together and, biological brothers. And I think it must have been horrible to be without him for that period of time. And so above that, maybe Mr. Smith, I don't know. We're usually not very comfortable commenting on what a gut feeling is because, who knows? But I think we laid it out pretty well in court.
Melanie, are you surprised at this? I'm actually shocked. My mouth is
Yeah.
that she's speculating, because this is speculation. Nobody knows.
Pure speculation.
And I'm floored right now that she even answered that and entertained that. I mean, granted, I know that the trial is over, the sentencing is done,
right?
But you never hear. This is a first for me. This is a first. How about you?
I've never heard a DA speculate about what they think happened and giving details of a crime that haven't been proven or there's no evidence of. I wish that these press conferences, I wish that whoever answered the question would repeat the question before they answer it. It would make everyone's job a lot easier to know what the question was, because we see this in every press conference. The media are shouting questions and we can't hear what the questions are, even with an earbud in. So
my good friend Mav is in the chat, and she's been on with us. Her cousin was brutally murdered up in Kelowna, Canada, right before Chris Watts did his horrific annihilation. And she has some information. I'm going to invite her to come back on with us. She shared her cousin's story, but the monster who killed his 2 daughters and his wife in Kelowna, British Columbia, is the judge in Canada let him become eligible 10 years earlier for parole. And I want to have her on to talk about it, because that's shocking. And this is in another country. Canada is not part of the United States.
Not familiar with their law.
Yeah, but shocking. But this is unbelievable to hear DA Zimmer speculate, because as far as I was concerned, the evidence and everything that we knew of, I didn't think not one of those boys made it to California City. And she's saying she felt that one did. And then he became too much of a problem with the crying and then was killed. So let's let the rest of this play. This is unbelievable. And listen, I'm not saying that this is not, I'm not poo-pooing her. I'm not putting her down. I just never heard this. I never heard a district attorney do this. So this is a first for me.
Mr. Smith, is there anything you'd like to answer about that?
I would imagine
he's
that he
probably
won't.
more hesitant than I am about.
Oh yeah.
You hesitant? Yes.
So
being
so she goes to the lead prosecutor. I mean, she's the DA, right? So she's the big boss. And she went to Eric and he was like, oh, hell no, I ain't touching that.
No way.
So let's listen to this.
They were together and, biological brothers. And I think it must have been horrible to be without him for that period of time. And so above that, maybe Mr. Smith, I don't know. We're usually not very comfortable commenting on what a gut feeling is, because, who knows?
He's shitting himself right now.
But
Like,
I
what?
walking it back pretty well in court. Mr. Smith, is there anything you'd like to answer about that? I think he's probably more hesitant than I am about. You hesitant? Yes. But well, we have had quite a bit of interaction with the biological family, different members. Mr. Smith can tell you specifically a little bit more than I have, but they have been involved in this and for the most part cooperative and wanting to see justice done.
There's a lot of families that have taken custody of children at the state level when it comes to.
Can't hear it.
What advice you have for them when it comes to making sure?
Melanie, look at this one. Look at this question from Ed.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. This is her opinion. I don't know if that's an appellate issue because it didn't happen during the trial.
And sentence is done. Sentence is imposed.
Yeah.
Take charge.
She did throw the defense under the bus for having a gag order because of a press conference that they gave, and that's the reason that they asked for the gag order on this case.
Yeah, Christy Doval says, I hate it when I can't hear the questions. We can't hear it. I got 2 earbuds in, and my stream deck is turned all the way up, and I still can't hear it.
And I normally like to repeat the question, but I can't repeat it if I can't hear it.
Repeating it a little bit. She's been repeating.
Well, I can tell you this, whether you're in an adoptive home or in your bio parent's home, law enforcement in the county of Kern is not going to stand for child abuse. These are our most vulnerable victims. Do I have a message for adoptive parents? No. I think adoptive parents, are wonderful for the most part. But if anybody is ever feeling that they are, losing their patience, maybe feeling that they were, acting in an abusive manner, there's a child abuse hotline. And if anybody out there sees anything that they think is potentially abusive with a neighbor or relative or whatever, they can also call 911 or the child abuse hotline. I mean, people can get help for this. No parent is perfect, but of course, we're not going to tolerate any type of abuse or murder, of course.
We've heard a lot about how difficult it could be to try a murder without a body.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult did that turn out?
Well, it might have been easier for us if the bodies had been found, but it's not common, but it's certainly not rare. Even if the bodies had been found, they might not have shown what the cause of death was, depending on what the level of decomposition was. So we've tried them here before. Law enforcement actually gets trained in what we call no-body homicides. And I don't know, would it have been easier? I don't know. It just kind of depends, but it wasn't going to deter us because, this is different than a situation when you have an adult that is missing. An adult can run away, be under an assumed name, something like that. So we have to be, we're careful regardless, but these were children and they would not have been able to provide for themselves. So it was pretty obvious something horrible happened to them at that time.
You said that you wanted that you will continue to look for their bodies. What exactly does that entail? Are there any leads or anything that you guys have to go off of where they might be?
No, I don't believe so. Tommy, you have any leads? Not at this time. We investigated all the tips, all the leads in that period of time before we went to the grand jury and then during the trial. But I will tell you that people find bodies, in the desert. People find bodies, and luckily now we have DNA. And if the body is found, and the bodies, one or both of them, that we have the technology to be able to identify them. And I pray that those bodies are found. There certainly will be active searches, and perhaps Chief Stratton could talk about that if there is a viable lead or tip. But right now, we don't have any. And of course, that these killers choose to do the right thing and come forth and tell us where they are, because the people that know where the bodies are Trezell and Jacqueline West. And if they want to truly do the right thing, they should tell us where those children are.
If you were to find them, could that somehow impact the sentencing or maybe back and forth?
I don't think so.
This may be going to gut feeling again, but
Oh.
Do you believe that Jacqueline was the killer of both boys? Do you believe Jacqueline killed one, Trezell killed another? I just didn't know if you.
Do you believe, did Jacqueline kill both boys? Did Trezell kill one and Jacqueline kill one? This is a question I'm.
Now she's going to get in the weeds on this. I hope she doesn't address it.
She's looking at Simmer.
I think I have my own gut feeling, but I don't know that that's appropriate. Mr. Smith, do you? I think we think they were in it together. They're like this. But Mr. Smith, you want to say anything about that?
No.
Nope. No.
Smart man.
I know the family was speaking to you about it after the sentencing, but they were really hoping to be.
Well, here, Ms. T says, why is she smiling? She's smiling because her office, the district attorney's office, just won a no-body homicide case.
And in all fairness, she was in tears at the beginning of this press conference, or very close to tears, right?
And she showed emotion even when
Yeah.
she had the press conference announcing that the boys were no longer alive. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let the rest of this play. I know you got to run in a few minutes, Melanie. So let's let the rest of this play to see if there's. I don't think that there's much more to it. Victim impact statements. They're asking about this. This is good.
Right. And what we had them do is they wrote their statement, and because it ultimately
You
is
were
for
right.
the court to consider.
Right.
I understand their desire to address the court and then also be heard by Trezell and Jacqueline West, but ultimately they were heard by the court. The court read all of those statements that they wrote and ultimately imposed the sentence that he did. So they were heard by the court.
What resources from the Victim Services Office have been made?
He got out of there fast.
The victim advocates would know that answer about what type of services they chose to avail themselves of. It's not something that I would feel comfortable talking to you about as, oh, this family member needed counseling, this family member, but we have a lot of services that victims' family members can take advantage of, and I hope that they did choose to do so.
So have you seen probation granted for a murder conviction before? What was your reaction to that argument?
I have not seen that. The case that she mentioned, I don't think that the person was convicted of murder. I have never seen.
He said, "Have you ever seen probation granted to someone who's convicted of murder?"
And I think he's referring to what Torres Stalling was arguing when she was arguing for probation for Jacqueline.
Yeah. And her reaction was classic to that. Well, let's play it.
I have not seen that. The case that she mentioned, I don't think that the person was convicted of murder. I have never seen that. I've never seen a judge in Kern County give a probationary sentence. I was offended, quite frankly, by the defense argument in court trying to paint Jacqueline West as the victim. Now, defense attorneys are going to say what they're going to say. They're looking out for the best interest of their clients. But that was, I think, went over the line. Jacqueline, Trezell West, they were not victims. They were murderers.
Thank you.
So,
and I think we were all offended by that.
Would grant probation for the murder of 2 children. Right, one more question? Or we sufficiently answered all your questions except the gut feelings that,
She knows that she screwed up. She knows
we
it.
could turn around on you. You watched the whole trial. What are your gut feelings? Yeah. Why don't you talk about that? All right.
Wow.
Is there anything else any of you would like to comment on? Thank you. Thank you all so very much for coming. I appreciate it. And again, I'm just so proud to be part of the law enforcement community in Kern County that works like this to see that justice is done in such a horrible case.
So there you have it. Sincere and classic. That's what this is about. Sincere, age 4, classic, age 3. Melanie, today was a good day. We got justice for the boys.
Yeah. Closure in some sense. I mean, this has been dragging on since they were convicted in May, so it's been a long time.
Yeah. Bittersweet. Roe and all of the folks that are, at Ground Zero down in Bakersfield, I send them on behalf of, all of us, the whole community, the whole online community. We send, again, our heartfelt condolences, strength, prayers, positive vibes. And, if Roe and any of them want to come on to give any kind of comments or statements, I'll be happy to host them anytime. I'm going to reach out to former Chief John Walker. I have his cell phone number. Him and I have communicated on the phone and by text message. He told me that once this was over, that he would come on my show and give a statement. I think that would be riveting to hear the California City Police, former police chief, he's no longer the chief, to hear his take on what him, with his officers and detectives and what they went through in the early stages. Now he could talk freely about this. I would love to hear about some of the interview interrogations and some of the things steps that they took early on and what their thoughts were when they responded to the California City home. I think that would be a fascinating live stream. Let Melanie, Ed, and I know what you think. If you would love to hear that, put some comments in the chat or in the comments below. Listen, folks, if you're not subscribed to Melanie Little here, her channel will be linked down in the description. Please follow her, subscribe to her, watch her on social media. All of her socials will be linked here. Again, if you're not following Ed and I on social media, it's one word, DutyRon. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and thumbs up. When you subscribe, make sure you select all notifications. Otherwise, you won't get notified when we go live or upload a video. So make sure you select all on not just my channel, but also on Attorney Melanie Little's. Final thoughts, Mel, because you are the attorney and you've been here with me. I'll give mine. I wanted to go to you first, ladies first.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, this is about classic and sincere. And I was really happy that during the press conference, they did refer to them by their given names and had the pictures of them right there for everyone to see. And I think it was a really heartfelt press conference. The DA, Cynthia Zimmer, was close to tears, if not in tears, when she first started. And she gave credit where credit was due. She praised law enforcement. We heard from both the police chief of Bakersfield and the police chief of California City, right?
Yep.
Chief Stratton and
Hightower.
That's correct. And also Eric Smith, who's the prosecutor who tried this case, also gave a statement. Everybody was very, very emotional, all of them, including law enforcement, which is something you don't see that often. But they were all, you could see, very personally affected by this case. And in the end, both Jacqueline and Trezell were sentenced today to 19 years to life, which means that they will not even be eligible for parole until 19 years have passed. And I know that everyone's not happy, and a lot of people are saying it's not enough. But in the end, we need to remember that this was a murder case without any bodies. So that is a very, very good result, in my opinion. That they did receive guilty verdicts on at least 2 of the felony murder charges, 1 each. So it's a win. It really is a win. And I don't see them getting parole in 19 years anyway. So we'll see what happens, but we'll be here.
Thank you, Melanie. And I'm going to give my final thoughts. Listen, friends, we as the online community, we are watching from the outside looking in, right? The biological family, the mother, the biological mom, Ryan Dean, the father, Mr. Pettis, and the grandparents. I mean, I have had communications with the grandparents. I've had communications with Ro, her mom, Phyllis, who's no longer with us. She passed away last year. These families are all hurting because 2 babies were ripped away from them. It doesn't matter how this all happened, how they were put up for adoption and how it all happened. That's a whole nother story. But my takeaway is that I think of them. I think of the people who now are left to live the rest of their natural born lives without having answers to where is Sincere, where are our boys? So the next step is to find their remains, give them a proper burial, but justice today was served. And to all of the people who volunteered their time to look in the desert, in California City, in the Mojave Desert, and look all over Bakersfield, California, and plastering signs and posters and going live, and to the live streaming community and the people who are in it for the good reasons, I tip my cap to you. I thank you. And to those of you who donated here for the billboards and for anything as it pertains to Sincere and Classic, we sent money for hot dogs and cotton candy and popcorn when they celebrated these little angels' birthdays. We were as remotely piped in to their celebrations of life. I want to say thank you to all of you, to thank you and the online community outside of the country. You guys have sent me messages and donations from as far as Saudi Arabia and South Africa and all over the world. So thank you to you. for coming in and doing the right thing. And here, it's about these boys. And Melanie, and again, I want to thank you and my co-host Ed Wallace for donating the time, the effort. Your insight was invaluable to the people who do not have the knowledge of how the courts work and how the process goes. And Ed has explained on hundreds. The case of Sincere and Classic, Orrin and Orson West, we have made and produced the most live videos on. I think over 150 are in my playlist. We've had helicopter pilots. We've had the dog handlers. We've had forensic pathologists, forensic psychologists come on. We've had odontologists, anthropologists, everyone speaking from all the trades. Barbara Butcher, who's a legal medical death investigator. So thank you to everyone who's been involved in keeping these boys' names and faces out there. And that's really all I got to say today. So guys and girls, thank you for being a part of this community. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Melanie Little, we send everybody all our love. Thank you, Mel. I know you got somewhere to go, so I'll wrap it up. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Stand by for a message from the cop team, Kara, Oscar, and Popeye. See you guys soon. Thanks, Mel.